Nobody would have thought that I would be the one. Rhyner, sports talk. Baseball, 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 baseball.
Oh, with the big mic. Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Okay, now I get it.
We got a lightning strike, boys. What happened over there, Grego? We had a little lightning strike right outside the window.
The Texas Rangers win the World Series.
All right. Here's a tip for all these Americano League teams.
Wait, you said tip?
Yeah, tip.
Okay.
With a P.
Keep jamming.
The ticket, colon, nothing but a big Gen X jerk-off sale.
This is a cool night or what?
Although somebody would hear that and go, bullshit.
I'm back, bitches.
You are in the midst of another episode of Your Dark Companion, and we welcome you into the Sunset Lounge here. I would be Mike Rhyner. The usual crew is here. Ashley is here. Shoopy is here. Becca is here. I'm here. And we've got a guy here today that I'm very interested in talking to because he does a specific thing and he's really, really good at it. But it is not the kind of specific thing that you normally associate with a man of his size doing.
Wait, wouldn't you though?
Would I?
Yeah, because that's the guys that do this are
Yeah.
usually a little bit bigger.
Those guys are big, but
Not this big, I got
not
you.
this big.
Football players typically.
I think they're
wrestlers.
of a little bit more normal size. What we're doing here today is we are talking golf.
Golf is taking priority over the show?
Golf takes priority over the show.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely right.
Still
but
haven't done Cowboys.
nope, still haven't done Cowboys. It's coming, though. In fact, I got Cavs on next
coming.
week. Yeah. So we're going to talk a little Cowboys with him before he goes to training camp. And we're going to find out what he's going to be looking for out there. But that's then. Let's stick to today. Because the fellow that we have today is Mike Dobbyn. Hi, Mike.
Hey, Mike. How are you, sir?
Doing great. How are you? Good to have you here with us today.
Doing great. You know, it's a real pleasure to be on. Obviously have known who you are for a very long time, followed you on the ticket and the freak. And so
Well, I appreciate
really appreciate you having me on today.
I had no idea who you were until today.
That's okay. Not many people do.
And ever since you walked in, I'm just a little bit discombobulated by it all, you know? Now, Mike is in the golf world, but he's not on the tour or anything like that, are you?
I chased the tour for a long time back in my earlier days, but long drive is where I found my road.
All right, so he is in the long drive world, that aspect of golf. And that has worked out quite well for you from what I understand.
I've done okay for myself, yeah. Yeah, I've been just over a 20-year career now, and back in my first year of competing, got Rookie of the Year honors on what was then the LDA Tour. They now call it the World Long Drive Tour, but got Rookie of the Year there, and now I'm in the senior division.
Now, let's go through a little biographical data. Where are you from?
Grew up in Southern California, a little town called Walnut. It's about 30-ish miles east of L.A. And grew up there, left there in 2007 for Vegas. First came here to the DFW area in 2013, back to Vegas in 2016, and then came back out here to Fort Worth just before COVID hit.
And that's where you reside now?
Yeah, I'm on the Fort Worth side of town, actually right out by Texas Motor Speedway.
What'd you do in Vegas while you were there?
Got to caddy at one of the greatest golf courses in the country, Shadow Creek. So
you were in the golf world back then. I mean, you've done the whole golf, tour thing and everything like that, or?
Yeah, I played some mini tour golf.
In one way or the other?
Yeah. Dad put a club in my hands when I was 3 years old. And in my family, you kind of either play golf, at least recreationally, or you're not part of the family. So that's sort of how it works with us. And when he worked offshore oil drilling, so when he wasn't home to be able to take my brother and I out playing, my grandparents did that. And so, golf's just always been a part of the family. And for me personally, well, my brother too, we just sort of always hit it far. We always tried to hit it as hard and as far as we could, go find it, hit it hard again, and which was kind of Arnold Palmer's method.
Yeah.
Hit it hard, go find it, hit it hard again.
Right.
And the courses that we grew up playing, a lot of the holes ran right next to each other. We didn't have a whole lot of out of bounds on the golf courses we played, so you could hit it anywhere and find it. And so that was how we did it. We were always trying to outdrive Dad and things like that. And then, however many years later, both of us are making a career in the sport of long drive.
Now, how old were you when you looked up one day and said, I hit this ball a little farther than most of the other boys?
Well, I knew early on that I hit it further than like all my friends and guys that I would go to the course with and everything.
Like when you were in your teens or
Yeah.
something like that? Okay.
Yeah, I hit my first 300-yard drive when I was 11 years old. And that was back, I'm 45, so that was back with a persimmon head and Bellata golf ball. So a little bit different technology from what we use today. But always hit it far, but baseball was what I was passionate about. That was my sport. And so I went to junior college at Pasadena City College out there in California by the Rose Bowl, played in baseball for them, got injured, couldn't play anymore, turned to golf from a more serious standpoint and started playing the lower level pro tours out there in California, Vegas, Arizona, things like that. A couple of years into that, it really wasn't going that well. I'd won a little bit, but it wasn't going all that well, and had some friends telling me about the whole long drive arena. And in 2003, I saw it on ESPN, and it looked like a lot of fun, and I knew I'd hit some drives kind of in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so went and found out how to get into it, and 2004 started competing.
So you looked at what those guys were doing and thought, hey, I can hang here.
Well, I thought I could. And so I was like, well, I'm seeing them on TV hitting at 370, 380, and I knew I'd hit drives like at least occasionally in the 350, 360, 370 range.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why not? Let's give it a shot. Looks like fun.
All right, now I want to go back to baseball for a second.
Yes, sir.
What kind of player were you? What did you play?
First base and right field mostly. I pitched a lot when I was a young kid growing up, which kind of ruined my arm. Had tendonitis a few times.
Yeah.
Because I threw hard at an early age, and so coaches pitched me a lot. Even though I didn't throw a curveball until I was about 14, they threw me so much that it just kind of ruined my arm.
What kind of hitter were you? Were you a big hitter there too?
From the right side of the plate, yes. Left side of the plate, I was more of a line drive, singles, and doubles kind of hitter.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into how you got into the long drive. You're watching these guys hit 300 yards, and you thought that maybe with a little work and a little fine-tuning on your swing or whatever, that you could do that too.
Pretty much, yeah. And really what got me into it was the energy of it. So the broadcast that I was watching wasn't actually that year's World Championship. It was a replay of the 2001 championship when Sean Pfister won his second title. And he was down to his last ball, hit it 377 to win, and it happened to be the last ball of the competition. And he's running around the tee box just kind of screaming, everything, the adrenaline's flowing, and it just got me. I was like, yeah, I want to do that.
That sounds like it's a little bit different in vibe from regular golf.
Yeah, we don't do a whole lot of quiet on the tee. In fact, in our elimination rounds early in the tournament before you get to the TV rounds, there's 4 of us on the tee at the same time hitting different colored balls. You've got 6 balls per round, 2 minutes and 30 seconds to hit them. It's only your best one that's in play that counts, has to land in play, stay in play. But we're talking to each other, having fun. Music's playing in the background. We've usually got like AC/DC, Metallica, something like that playing.
Yeah.
And it's a party. Like if you've never seen Long Drive live in person, you need to come out and check it out. It is a lot of fun.
A lot of people show up for these things?
No. Mainly because where the events are hosted, it tends to not be in like Dallas, for instance.
Yeah.
We're not in
Where would
Vegas.
it be? If we were going to do this here, where would you go?
So back when we had the championship here in the area from 2015 to 19, it was at WinStar. You know, and whether it's due to lack of marketing or whatever, I'm not sure where the missed connection is to get people out to it. But a lot of times it doesn't cost anything for people to come out and watch us. Which has always kind of been one of my big bugaboos about it. I have a daughter who's now 26, but even back when she was in junior high and going through her theater and music programs and stuff, as her dad, I couldn't go watch her for free. And so to ask people to come out and watch the best in the world at hitting a golf ball as far as possible for free, it's kind of one of those things of, if it costs nothing, it's probably worth nothing.
Yeah.
And so I think
kind of doesn't add up.
Yeah. I think there's just been a big disconnect there as far as getting people to the events, as well as geographical issues. Like when we go to Vegas, for instance, we're not in Vegas. We're up in Mesquite, about an hour and a half north of Vegas.
Yeah.
So getting people to the tournaments seems to be a little bit of an issue.
Is this a question of the, I don't know, the way the sport, the way the game, the way the event is organized, or what kind of organization do they have? Do they have like a league or something like that, or
yeah, we have a full tour. It's called the World Long Drive Tour, and they'll be hosting the World Championships. Mine actually for the senior division is next week in Fort Jackson, or at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina, and but they'll be doing open division tour event, women's tour event. They're going to be doing a military championship as well. There's gonna be a lot going on, but yeah, you know, why there's that disconnect to get people there, I'm not 100% sure.
Is it just the lack of a good, strong organization or a good, strong support system? Or?
I mean, we've had great organizations that have owned it and led the charge as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
Art Sellinger, two-time national champion himself, ran the LDA for a very long time, ran the sport, and did a phenomenal job. And then he sold it to Golf Channel back in 2015. And then it was, I believe, 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, that Golf Channel sold it to GF Sports Management. They're a marketing company out of New York City. I know they run a big tennis tour, and so they took over. And I mean, it's still new for them, so we're hoping that things will start to take off. But yeah, it's just there's been people behind it, but we've never really had the real big dollar sponsors come in. We had Remax as a title sponsor for 20 years. They were phenomenal. But since then, it's been tough finding like a major title sponsor. I really personally feel like this would be something that would be amazing for like a Red Bull TV, right? Yeah. I think having Red Bull behind this would be incredible because I feel like it fits their market.
Right.
You know?
Do you think Proper Golf looks down on something like this, like it's a party trick or something like that?
Interesting question. Because from an amateur perspective, yes. They think that we're using illegal clubs and doing all this other kind of stuff that the regular tour guys can't do, and that's just not the case. Everything that
use standard equipment.
Everything that we use in our game can be used on the PGA Tour. Everything.
And so, still, they just look at it like, okay, well, these guys are just showing off.
Right. And I mean, I get it. It's different. You know, we're not out there playing golf, right?
Yeah, right.
We're kind of like,
you're focused on one aspect of the game.
Right. We're basically the home run derby version of golf.
Yeah.
Is basically what we are. You know, and
just a bunch of designated hitters.
Yeah. And a lot of us do have baseball backgrounds. A lot of us. Which is interesting. A lot of pitchers.
A lot of pitchers. Really?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Well, the explosiveness they need off the mound would correlate pretty well.
100%.
Yeah.
Correlates very well.
And then probably having the time off in between starts and everything too.
That doesn't suck.
Maybe a factor.
Yeah. You know, like back when I lived in Vegas, I actually got the opportunity to play quite a bit of golf with Greg Maddux. because he lives out there and originally from Vegas and everything. And Greg is one heck of a player.
That's what we've always heard.
Yeah.
The number one, he's way into it.
Yeah.
He's probably more into that than he is baseball. And number two, he's really good.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a baseball thing all around, though. They just really like playing golf. Like, oh, it's an off day today. Let's go play golf.
Yeah.
Oh, we're retired. Let's go play golf.
That's something that's been a part of baseball for
since forever, really.
Yeah, for a long time. You know, most of them do really like golf.
Yeah.
I'm curious though. Do you think that in order to grow the sport, you would have to do something like what I think it's golf, but some guys are leaving the PGA Tour and going to this other tour.
Going to live, yeah.
Yeah, with those investors from Dubai. Do you think it would have to be something like that where the players kind of band together and say, oh, hey, we're going to try this a different way?
Possibly. There have been certain discussions like that have taken place. It's never really gained any ground, but, you know, those kind of talks have happened.
Have you ever been involved in those?
A little bit.
I
here
ask
and there.
because you seem like a really smart guy, like a guy who thinks this stuff through.
Well,
Here's
you
all
know,
the sides.
Being around it for as long as I have, I've seen a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I have a lot of ideas of what would work, what wouldn't work. The problem is that as players, especially for the last 10 years or so, they just don't listen.
That's weird.
They just don't listen to us.
That's weird.
And
That's like radio.
they'll ask our opinions. But then they, you know, if we tell them to turn right, they go left.
Yeah.
You think that's a generational thing though? Or just an ego?
I think it's more ego.
That makes sense.
I think it's more ego.
If it's not their idea, then it's nobody's idea.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, but like what you were asking me before about as far as like respect from other golfers, you know, from an amateur standpoint, we don't get a whole lot of respect from them, but the pro golfers, we actually get a ton of respect from. After I won in 2007 at the World Championship, I was at the PGA show the following January down in Orlando. And I was just sitting there talking with some of the guys from IMG and stuff, and Charles Howell III walks up. And obviously I know who he is, you know, PGA Tour winner and everything.
Sure.
And he actually first introduced himself to me, and he knew who I was, which was pretty cool. You know, I was like, wow. I like the fact that a tour winner knows who I am, because I'm in the world of golf, I'm more or less a nobody. You know, like, I mean, in long drive, sure, but in the world of golf, you got to really, really follow golf to know who most of us are.
Yeah.
Especially back then, because we didn't have social media back then. You know, you had MySpace, and that was about it.
Yeah.
You know, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff wasn't a thing. I'm old.
Now,
Who was in your top 8?
What's that?
Who was in your top 8?
Yeah, right. Tom.
Yeah.
Tom was in my top
There you
8.
go.
so you're how tall?
6'8".
And you're at 315?
I was. Back in 2015-16, I was up at about 310, 315. Nowadays, I tend to be right around 285 to 290.
For long drive is bigger better?
We used to think this. We used to think so. To an extent, yes, because the taller you are, the more leverage you can create, more centrifugal force, all that. The average size in our sport's about 6'3", maybe 6'4", and 240. So I'm definitely on the larger end of that, and I am trying to lean down a little bit so that I can gain more mobility and move faster. Especially being older, you need more mobility. But back when I won my championship in 2007 and the first few years before that, we were all in the gym lifting like power lifters because that's what we thought we needed to do.
Yeah.
We didn't have the knowledge that's available now and the more sports specific type training and things like that. So we train much differently nowadays than we did back then.
You know, in every sport, there are always those guys who do what they do and you just can't figure it out. And guys are looking at them going, man, how does that guy do that? You know?
Yep.
And it confounds them because they think that if he can do it, they should be able to do it. But he can, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like that in what with
you
guys?
Yeah, we've definitely got, you know, now and in the past, we've had a few guys that you look at them and you kind of go like, but you can swing the club that fast? Like, his rookie season in the Open Division was the year that I won in 07, and he happened to finish third, and then he won the next two in 08 and 09. Had a run of 9 straight years where he'd never missed a top 8 at the World Championships. Mr. Jamie Sedlowski from up in Canada.
Yeah.
And 5'10", 165.
5'10", 165.
Yeah.
Do you think part of that comes from like so they're doing it a lot more in baseball now since we're comparing things, but like mobility training and that kind of stuff?
Mobility, and Jamie had a pretty large hockey background. And if you can move well and hit a puck really hard on skates, you're going to do just fine hitting a golf ball hard.
I bet I can think of another baseball comp. Bat speed, club speed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very comparable.
Very important.
Very important. If you look up Jeremy Novak, he's a current competitor, hasn't won on the tour yet. It's definitely coming, but he's got a very unique move to himself. It calls himself the swingman, just kind of an homage to King Griffey Jr. But heck of a baseball player, hits the baseball a long way from both sides of the plate, and in long drive, I mean, quite the competitor.
Yeah.
Definitely someone to watch.
Yeah, it can be a little bit of a mind blow when you see wiry guys, even if they're tall, wiry guys, come to bat, and you think, okay, this guy might, be a gap hitter or something like that. And the next thing you know, he just tees freaking off.
Yeah.
And you're going, man, where does this come from?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, not that he's on the shorter end, obviously, but a guy who's built like Ohtani, for instance, but shorter, you wouldn't necessarily expect to be a major power hitter, and even Ohtani being a pitcher as well as a hitter, to have the power that he does is incredible.
That's a great example because Ohtani has such an easy swing.
It's so easy.
I mean, it's like you have max effort guys who swing and they fall down, but man, it looks like he's just flicking the bat out there.
Yeah.
And the ball just takes off.
And to compare Ohtani, for instance, to a guy like Sosa or McGuire from back in the 90s.
Yeah.
You look at Sosa and McGuire and it's like, you expect it.
Sure.
But
Canseco was another.
Another great example. He actually came out and competed in long drive a little bit here and there too.
Wow. Well, that's more of the golf baseball tandem.
Yeah.
The way they hook up. So what kind of world record do you hold?
So the record that I hold is a 551-yard drive, and it's the longest drive ever recorded in a professional golf tournament. So I was playing on Butch Harmon's tour back in 07 out there in Vegas. July 17th, coming up on the anniversary here, actually. July 17th in 07, I was out of the tournament. I wasn't going to make the cut, so I let one rip on the 18th hole, downhill, a little downwind, and Vegas, middle of summer, ground's hard, it's hot, obviously, ball's going to fly far. And it flew an estimated 450 to 460 yards, landed on a hard downslope and took off running, and ended up at 551. I didn't know it at the time that it was any kind of a record other than for myself, but the sponsor that I was playing for at the time, he had been calling me and leaving me voicemails and everything, and I called him back a couple days later, and he's asking me, all he said was, "Is it true?" And he said it a couple times. He goes, "Is it true?" Is what true? He goes, "It's all over the internet that you hit a ball 551 yards." And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, that's a world record." I was like, "Oh, cool."
Far out.
Right on. But yeah, I broke Mike Austin's record that had stood since the 70s. Mike had hit a ball 515 yards in Vegas at a PGA Tour event back then.
Yeah.
As the story goes, obviously I wasn't there to witness it or anything, but as the story goes, he hit it down like a concrete ditch, and then it jumped out back onto the course, and he was about 100 yards past the hole. Whereas with mine, it stayed on my hole, didn't hit any concrete, no rocks or anything like that. Just just one of those moments in time where everything was perfect.
Did you know right away when you hit it that
I knew it was
you'd done
big.
something pretty extraordinary?
I knew it was big. I had hit some other drives on the tour that year in the 450 to 470, 480 range. Again, when it's hot in Vegas and the ground's hard, ball goes a long way.
Yeah.
You're at 2,000 feet elevation, air's dry, so you have all the elements. And so I knew it was a big one, but I didn't know it was going to be that.
When you hit a big one like that, you know it though, right?
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
You know it.
I mean, some of them are just everything comes together a little bit better on some of them than others, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you've ever made that perfect connection with a baseball with a wood bat and it takes off for you, you know that feeling.
Which I have not, nor with a golf ball, nor with anything else. Perfect connections are hard for me to come by in this world. So, what happens now in your world?
So, at this point, in my rookie season in the senior division, which is 45 and older, 21st year competing overall.
You're 45?
I am.
You look like you're 25, man.
That's what I said the first time I saw him, too. He looks young.
Yes, he does.
I think he lives a little cleaner than us.
No way.
Nah. I work out as hard as I do so that I can eat what I want. But I really don't eat that clean. I mean, I do to an extent, but I don't sit there and count every calorie. I'm not like, Tom Brady with his diet, especially back when he was playing where, everything is 100% perfect.
Right.
If I want a pizza, I'm going to have a
completely
pizza.
accounted for.
Right. Yeah. If I want a burger or a pizza, I'm going to have it. But yeah, now in the senior division,
I salute you for that.
Thank you. I like to enjoy life.
Yes, you should.
Good glass of bourbon every once in a while,
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
But the first tour event of the season for me, I finished second out in Memphis, and then I won in Denver. Didn't go to Canada this past weekend, but we got World Championships next week, and feeling pretty good about it.
Where are the World Championships going to be?
Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina.
How does the ball fly there?
Not great. Little humid, little close to sea level.
Yeah.
And the hole that we're going to be on for our grid is interesting because it's got quite a bit of a slope from the right side to the left with not a whole lot on the left side to keep it from going out of bounds.
Yeah.
So it's a very specific shot that you have to hit on this particular hole.
So you guys are all shooting at the same hole.
Right. So what our grid looks like is, and sometimes they'll put it on a hole, but most of the times we're on either a driving range or at like a turf farm, sod farm. And our grid basically looks like a gigantic football field. It's usually 50 to 55, 60 yards wide and 500-ish yards long. And every 10 yards, the grid's painted with a white line, and we've got people out there in the grid actually calling back on walkie-talkies how far the balls went, all that kind of stuff.
And what is what are the fans like that come out to this? Is this a big party or?
It's a big party.
It is.
Yeah.
Unlike regular golf.
We're a lot more live golf, a lot less PGA Tour.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the music playing, the beer's flowing. We're out there to have fun and hit it hard.
The 16th hole at
That is a great analogy. At Waste Management, yeah.
Yeah. I got you.
Were you glad to see Live Golf come along?
I was. You can debate all day long about the funding behind it, but the different style of golf is what I like about it. I like the team aspect. I think that's something that, honestly, from an American standpoint, has been missing when we've gone to events like the Ryder Cup. So if we allow some of the live players to actually play on the Ryder Cup team, we might have a little more success.
Is that going to happen?
Because they're used to playing on teams. I think eventually it will. Maybe not right away, but I think it will eventually. But I like the more fun side of live, where they've got music playing on different holes, and it's just not as...
It's not the gentleman's sport
stodgy.
It used to be.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not as stuffy.
Yeah.
Like
that one movie with Shia LaBeouf. The golf movie where he's not a country club kid, but
yes.
he comes in and he wins.
Yeah, greatest game ever played.
Thank you.
Yeah, great movie.
I don't think I saw that.
We're gonna have to watch it. We're literally gonna get off of this and we're all gonna go watch the greatest game ever played now. It's not the best movie because it's Shia LaBeouf, but it's a good movie.
Okay, fair enough.
It tells
like
it tells a great true story.
Yeah.
You know,
Sounds
That's
like
pretty
it's
spot
fun.
on.
yeah. But yeah, this kid, grows up across the street from Brookline Country Club and ends up qualifying for the U.S. Open as an amateur and goes out and wins it.
Wasn't he a caddy?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
So who's your biggest nemesis in long drive?
In the Open division, that would definitely be Kyle Berkshire. He's number one in the world for sure. 3-time world champion, 1 national title. He, far and above at the moment, I would say is world number 1 and deserving of the rank. In the senior division, Eddie Fernandez is ranked number 1 in the world right now. Now, in the senior division, I would say things are a little closer within the top 5. There isn't quite the disparity from a ball speed perspective, but yeah, you got in my division. There's Eddie, Kevin Shook, Jeff Gavin, Ryan Riesbeck. I could go on and on, but there's a lot of guys that we've got multiple world champions competing all at the same time, and we have some fun out there.
How do you differentiate one of these guys from the other? I mean, what makes one guy special because of this and another guy special because of that? Like, what are the different things, different qualities these guys have?
Some guys are
Does
just...
that make sense?
Yeah. Some guys, there's a lot of guys that can get to the top 16, top 10 of the tournament, but then they can't finish it off.
Yeah.
And these guys are special in that they can. More often than not, when they get there, they're going to finish in the top 3, if not win. And, like Kyle's a great example of that. Justin James, another Open division, amazing hitter. Martin Borgmeyer, Colton Casto. There's a lot of guys there that when it comes down to crunch time, you definitely, if you're up against them, because once you get down to a certain point, it's head-to-head match play.
Yeah.
If you're up against those particular guys, you need to be on your A game to beat them.
What makes them special?
Well, aside from being amazing competitors and just being that fast all the time, they're great guys. For me, that's what's really kept me in the sport as long as I've been doing it, is the camaraderie between all of my fellow competitors. When we go anywhere, it's usually a pretty big party. Like, sure, on the tee box, we want to kill each other, but as soon as we're done, we're all having dinner together, stuff like that. It's a big fraternity, big community.
I get the impression it's not much like that on the PGA Tour.
I don't think it is. I can't speak to it from experience, but I'm thinking probably not.
Yeah, but you're in the golf game. You hear things,
Yeah, sure. And to speak to some of the local boys around here, like all the ones who go to Dr. Troy Van Biesen at Cairo Sport and Dr. Chris Miller, you got Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas. I mean, the list goes on and on for the guys that go there and train with them. And those guys are tight.
Yeah.
When they're out on tour, they are definitely very, very close-knit group.
And you know all these guys.
Yeah, my brother and I, we happen to go to Dr. Van Biesen and Dr. Miller as well. So we've gotten to know a few of those guys and, be able to talk shop with them.
Is long drive like on any given day, in any given place, somebody can win? Or is it like, okay, so Vegas, you're because you lived there for so long, like, you know that terrain and it's fine. And in South Carolina, like somebody else and whatever it is, or is it any given day, whoever shows up and has just the best swing?
For the most part, it's in any given day kind of thing. Now, certain guys do better in certain climates. I won't necessarily say that they do better because of like the grid itself or whatever, but for me, I'm a very visual player. So if I like what I'm looking at, I tend to perform better. In drier areas, I've had a tendency to perform better. Like I've got a tour title from the Salt Lake City area. I've won a couple times in Denver, out in Vegas area, stuff like that. Whereas when I go to Florida, I tend to not perform as well, just because my body doesn't particularly care for the humidity too much. So if I'm down in a place like Houston, New Orleans, or down in Florida, I'm struggling just to fill my lungs.
Yeah.
And obviously you have to oxygenate the blood to get everything flowing right and all that. So when I'm down in the South, at least from my perspective, the guys who live in those areas tend to be the ones that do better.
Do you ever think about maybe relocating in one of those areas all the time, or do you already live out there?
Well,
I
live here in Fort Worth.
Okay.
But to relocate to a place like that, there's not enough events in those areas to really justify moving there for that reason. And there's, at least at the moment, not enough money in the sport. Particularly in the senior division where I'm at, it's basically a hobby at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Like for my win in Denver on the tour, I got $3,000 for that. So I mean, it covered my expenses, but at this point, it's doing it for the love of the game.
What's it going to take for the game to move up to that next level?
Dana
and
White.
Get a little bit more money in it.
Dana White.
How?
Well, what I mean when I say that is you look at what the UFC was before Dana White, right?
Right.
And then Dana White comes in, gets the marketing behind it, and shoves it down everybody's throats like, you got to see this. You got to come see this. It's the coolest thing, blah, blah, blah. That's the kind of person that we need.
Yeah.
We need a Dana White. Whether it's Dana himself or not, that's the kind of person that we need. We need somebody with billions of dollars. Mark Cuban, if you're listening.
Hey, he needs a new venture anyways.
We need somebody that can put the money behind it, who isn't worried about losing the money, to market it and just get it out there and say, you guys have to come check this out. You got to come check it out.
The Dumonts, go partner with them in their new casino.
Yeah, right. But no, I use the example of Dana White just because of what he was able to do with the UFC, what he's currently doing with the slap boxing thing.
Right.
But yeah, particularly with UFC, I think he's the guy, or somebody like him.
Yeah, you need that guy.
I think we need that guy.
Yeah. Not just a guy, that guy.
That guy.
Who knows how to make shit happen.
To be able to get in some of those bigger cities, though, you have to be able to have the space. Like, where in DFW do you see that kind of space? Would it be somewhere like up at the PGA in Frisco, or like?
Well, exactly that, and that's one of our biggest.
It's not like you can go to Topgolf.
Right. We need a lot of space, because not only do we need the room for the grid that's 50 wide and however long, but we also need warm up and practice area space, because the guys who are practicing can't be out there hitting on the grid or hitting balls across it or anything like that. So finding the amount of space is tough. And that's part of the reason why this year 2 of our tour events have been at turf farms. We've used soccer fields in the past, different things like that.
Yeah.
We actually did have one here in Dallas back in the day, at a place that's now gone, but it was one of Hank Haney's original driving ranges. It was right off of 635 and 35E.
Yeah.
It's a big industrial park now.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. But that was actually where the qualifying tournament for the 2004 tour was, where I got my tour card for that year. And we've had finals at Trophy Club. So, I mean, there are areas around here to be able to do it, but it's tough.
I think we need to go make a push for Dude Perfect to add this to the list of things that they're bringing on.
Right. There you go. Well, and the good guys have worked with Kyle Berkshire in the past to do different videos and whatnot.
Yeah. Like that would be a good fit.
So do you get recognized a lot as you make your way around our Fairburg or wherever you go?
The number one question I get is, what football team do you play for?
Can see it.
So, yeah, people don't usually recognize me for what I've done in long drive. They just, they see me and they're like, okay, who do you play for? Or who did you play for? Or whatever.
That's what I did when I met him. I was like, so what football team were you on?
Yeah. No football in my background, at least not organized football.
So do you tell them when they ask you that you're a long drive guy?
No, I usually just tell them I'm a jockey. I carry the horse.
I like that.
Wait, you wouldn't be a jockey then? You would be a thoroughbred.
Yeah, right. Whatever. Yeah. Or I'll tell them I'm in ballet or something like that.
He's a Nacho Libre. He's a mass wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah. No, back when WrestleMania was here and I was a personal trainer at Gold's there, right off McKinney, a bunch of the guys and Vince all came in and were training there, getting their workouts in and stuff. And so got to meet Big Show and met Vince. And I was kind of in the back of my head hoping that Vince would offer me a tryout. He didn't, but would have been fun.
Well, this has been very informative. I've learned a lot about this today. Something that I didn't know anything about.
Been a real pleasure to spend this time with you, Mike.
He's starstruck, Mike. Starstruck on you, Mike.
Oh, man. Come on. He's the player here, not me.
The old gray wolf.
It's really nice to meet you. Thank you for doing this.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
This has been your Dark Companion. Thank you for listening and watching, or whatever it is you're doing out there. If you like what we're doing here, we would love for you to tell us about it. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Just tell us, okay? Let's see. Patreon.com is where you can find us. We're also out there at other various ports of call and points out there on the internet. So find us. We don't care how you find us. Just find us.
Google us.
Yes, Google us. Google us. Interact with us. Tell us what you think. For Ashley, for Shoopy, for Becca, I'm Mike Rhyner. Your Dark Companion is a Stolen Water Media presentation. Next time.
All right. I'm going to go take my pants off.